Okay, so a lot to catch up on. On October 7th, Hamas, along with other Palestinian militant groups, launched an attack on Israel from the Gaza Strip. An attack that, according to recent data, killed 782 unarmed Israelis, 256 Israeli soldiers, as well as taking 200 plus Israeli hostages, with the stated goal of exchanging those hostages for Palestinians taken by the State of Israel. Israel responded to this attack by ramping up its extermination of the Palestinian people, relentlessly bombing the men, women, and children in Gaza, as well as targeting the Palestinian journalists who are covering these atrocities, destroying infrastructure, targeting schools and hospitals, as well as bombing the safe zones that it told the Palestinians to seek safety in. Through the incredible and tireless courage of the Palestinian people, both in and outside of Gaza, as well as multiple voices who documented these atrocities, there's been what we would call a cultural shift, leaning in a newfound and passionate support of the Palestinian people, support for the BDS movement, mass protest, and organizing to aid in efforts to achieve a permanent ceasefire for those who've seen these atrocities perpetrated by the State of Israel. But at a time where context and information on the conflict are plentiful, now I know what you're thinking. Why? DJ Khaled! So I wasn't aware before, but DJ Khaled, one of the most recognizable faces in hip-hop production, is in fact Palestinian.
Let's go golfing! Let's golf!
Something he's been very proud of, which makes his silence on this kind of weird. But also, as a person who doesn't really pay close attention to DJ Khaled's work, I just know him for being funny. And he is funny as hell.
All right. Gatorade.
Being known for his wealth and his proximity to black hip-hop culture, he's achieved a meme-like status for a lot of us. I mean, he's been in the game for a minute. Here he is in the hood classic Shadas doing absolutely nothing. But more to my point, he's been able to use and sometimes make fun of his Arab identity to garner respect within hip-hop culture. I mean, looking back, some of this shit is cringe as hell. And his silence hasn't gone unnoticed. Mesa Mustafa at New Lines Mag writes, from his Allah chain to his hookah to his hit song Arab Money, DJ Khaled has capitalized on his Arab identity to set himself apart in the oversaturated industry that is rap and hip-hop. After seeing names as big as Billie Eilish associating herself with Palestine on the red carpets, many within the industry itself are wondering what could be holding Khaled back. Is it that his label, We the Best, is owned by Universal Music Group, whose executives are among the staunchest supporters of Israel, such as Hayam Saban, who donated the largest sum as of 2017 in the history of the Friends of the IDF, an Israeli military funding charity? Is he just not interested in being associated with Palestine when it's controversial? Or is he too afraid of what it may cost him? As always, these decisions are money motivated. Rallying in opposition to the Israeli state during its ongoing extermination of its people just doesn't seem like it's in the cards for him, even though it could be a PR win. What I find a little bit more important is that Lucien Grange, CEO of Warner Music Group, DJ Khaled's label, is also a staunch Zionist, meaning a defender of the Israeli state, regardless of its human rights abuses. Lucien Grange also has a lot of stuff involved within the current Diddy controversy, so allegedly the embassy might be raided soon. I know he moved to have his name stricken from that record, but again, allegedly. And on that note, there have been prominent UMG artists who have spoken up for Palestine, be it consistently or in light of recent events. So it's still a bit odd for Khaled not to say anything right now. I mean, it's not like it's trendy for one to use their nationality as if it's cool for publicity, or for one to use the revolutionary aesthetics of one's ethnicity for capitalist gain, only to abandon it when your voice could actually make a huge change, right? It goes without saying that Beyonce is a generational talent. By far one of the greatest performers of our time, if not the greatest, especially within pop music. Following a long line of amazing black performers that have shaped popular music as we know it. From James Brown to Michael Jackson, and delivering records that transcend their own generation. It also helps at the time of me writing this that Beyonce is probably the least problematic of the three, allegedly. I'm not going to get into it with the Michael Jackson truthers, but they definitely exist. But with that said, her silence on this issue is notable for a few reasons. For the past 2 or 3 album cycles, Beyonce has used the aesthetics of Black revolutionary organizations, queer liberatory music pioneers, as well as Black cowboy culture to virtue signal to a larger Black audience, effectively politicizing her brand. And that's not saying that these projects are without merit. Far from it. If anything, she's delivered some of the most effective and engaging popular music for the past 20 years. It's just one thing to adopt the aesthetics of the Black Panthers, a Black liberatory organization that was systematically dismantled by the CIA and the FBI, or the fact that she stood in solidarity with the Black Lives Matter movement, and then choose not to say anything about Israel's assault on Gaza. Even though the IDF, an occupying army that terrorizes the Palestinian people, routinely trains with American police to better surveil, racially profile, and squash protest here in the United States. Especially at a time like this, where these collaborations are culminating in the creation of multiple cop cities all around the United States. It's frustrating, to say the least. Like, I don't expect her to fix all of the world's issues, but what is happening in Gaza will happen to Black people here. Hell, it already has. Just look at the move bombing. So it would be nice if we got a little bit of political consistency. But when you look into her business decisions, that's when things get a little murky. Most notably, her partnership with Tiffany & Company, a luxury jewelry brand that has strong Israeli ties. Not so fun fact, but diamonds are Israel's #1 export, even though absolutely zero diamonds are sourced from Israel, meaning that those resources are mined there from the Congo and other parts of Africa to be cut. And when we're talking about how these precious minerals are mined and traded, whether or not they were ethically collected comes into question. In most cases, they are collected via wealthy billionaires who exploit Africans through harsh and dangerous working conditions all the way up to child labor. Or these wealthy billionaires are trading with folks who do that stuff in secret. It makes one question why someone would get involved in the jewelry business in the first place. Also, Solange, Beyonce's sister, has consistently spoken up for the Palestinian cause, but she has a history of advocating for progressive causes. I believe back in December, the Renaissance film did premiere in Israel, and Break My Soul became the Zionist anthem as the ethnic cleansing campaign against Palestinians began to ramp up. Karen Ataya of the Washington Post writes, "The liberal fantasy of progress requires performances that borrow from the aesthetics of Black and LGBTQ plus liberation. This allows Black people to make millions off organizations with a history of anti-Blackness, such as the National Football League, or from colonial entities such as Tiffany. In the case of Beyonce, it allows her to quote Malcolm X on Black American women's dehumanization while saying absolutely nothing about the terrifying dehumanization of Palestinians. It allows her to make a song titled America Has a Problem, yet say nothing about the role of the United States in bombing Palestinians. And this isn't to say that the brunt of social advocacy falls squarely on the shoulders of Black women, even though America's voting history over the past couple years would say otherwise. But that if you're willing to further politicize your brand, at the very least read the room, because girl, what is this? And what bums me out about a lot of this is that Black artists don't necessarily have the freedom of their white counterparts. It can be very hard for us to create outside the political lens, especially when you are as famous as a Beyonce. How we move is exhaustively monitored, and there has consistently been less freedom for us creatively. Unlike
Taylor Swift comes out against Trump.
I don't care if they write that. I'm sad that I didn't 2 years ago, but I can't change that. I'm saying right now that this is something that I know is right, and you guys, I need to be on the right side of history, and if he doesn't win, then at least I try.
Yeah. One president can come after you.
Yeah, fuck that, I don't care.
If I get bad press for saying don't put a homophobic racist in office, then I get bad press for that. I really don't care.
Behind that 1,000 times.
Me too.
Okay, y'all, this is not surprising. Taylor Swift is the president of white women, and although her contributions to climate change has become a meme of sorts for us, I can admit that she's done some solid things, like encourage her fan base to vote, be it uncritically, for the Democrats. But in addition to that, she's kind of become the stand-in for girl boss feminism and choice feminism. Basically all of the feminisms that aren't intersectional. And what that means is that Taylor has only been very outspoken about issues that affect her directly. Let's be clear. As a working singer-songwriter, she's had to deal with a lot of shit and has won some major battles. Re-recording her music to regain ownership of it, dope. Using your power to go after those who've made deepfakes of your image, prompting the government to propose an actual bill against the sharing of AI non-consensual images, really cool. Thinking about how you want to live in the 1800s, weird. But regardless, the other two things are a great example of how she could potentially change the narrative around how musicians are treated, or how she could possibly mobilize her audience to advocate for larger issues. And as the president of white women, she's kind of called upon by both sides of the conflict. Both sides meaning the colonizer occupiers who are looking for her stamp of approval on the genocide, and those who are in support of the Palestinians, to be clear. It's important to remember here is outside of her attending possibly a fundraiser for Gaza, very important for her brand-wise to say as little as humanly possible. Swift's public image mainly ties and operates as her being a tool of the neoliberal establishment, which is a reflection of how many normie establishment media outlets have gone out of their way to share Israeli misinformation while simultaneously avoiding the voices of actual Palestinians, unless they fall in line with the narrative that they're pushing. And I guess that's a central point of all of this, really.
Celebrities do not have as much power as you guys think they do.
Oh, but we don't really think you've got power, Lizzo. We think you're a shield, that the people with power hide behind you, that you normalize waste and opulence. You give wealth inequality a friendly, well-curated face for people to grow up with and relate to and think is actually their friend. You're the poster child selling us all the elusive carrot of consumer capitalism while the stick looms behind us, snapping at our heels. You're not the rich and powerful. You're a weapon that the rich and powerful wield against the people. You're the bread and circus. They're the rule of law. You're the velvet glove. They're the iron fist.
The more in tune you are with the larger governmental structures, the structures that actually make the policy decisions and oppress people, the less likely you are to actually advocate for human rights in a way that pushes against the status quo. And that doesn't mean that I believe that every celebrity should drop what they're doing and become a guerrilla freedom fighter. Recently, due to Met Gala discourse, there's been a wider conversation about where our attention goes. And even though it's not perfect, I feel like it's a step in the right direction. But those are just my thoughts. Let me know what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Feel free to sound off below. Peace.